wanted to talk today about science and meditation. And there's been a lot of great studies that show that when people are depressed, if they go through an 8-week meditation program, that they can see that 58% of them, 58% of them will dramatically reduce their uh, actually, sorry, 58% of the people who don't do the 8-week meditation, there was the study, and the study, just like the one before, it prescribed meditation for 8 weeks to the people who were depressed, and those that didn't, in the control group, they were 58% of them became depressed again. But those that did practice the meditation, 38% of them got depressed again. So that's pretty significant. That's a huge find. Uh, that meditation can really help to curb depression. And I liked learning about that study because I used to do 4-week meditation courses. I should have been doing 8-week meditation courses. Scientifically proven that it can lower depression to a great degree. I wanted to talk to you today, and I'm going to be as brief as I can, about the work that has been done by a pretty brilliant scientist by the name of Roland Griffith. He was a typical scientist who was very skeptical about, spirituality and things like that in the beginning. He had tried to do meditation earlier in life, but it didn't work out. He was too busy, couldn't really get into it. But what he wanted to do, I guess he always had a calling for it, is he wanted to see if there was a way that you could determine what is happening in people's minds when they're having mystical experiences. And so he looked at the old experiments on LSD and psychedelics that were done in the 1960s. Ram Dass, he, famous for the book Be Here Now, he used to be a Harvard professor that used to study the effects of LSD. And I love the story of Ram Dass I love the story of Ram Dass when he meets his guru, and he's still so into the study of the psychedelics. He has this longing to want to give his guru the psychedelic because he wants to see what effect will it have on someone like him. I mean, he's already so advanced. How will this affect him? And one day he walks up to the guru, and the guru is looking at him, smiling, and he says, "So, do you have the?" I forget the word. It's so funny, something like, "So, do you have the candy that you want to offer me?" And Ram Dass was shocked. He's like, "Oh my God, he knows I want to give it to him." And he had it in his pocket, so he said yes. He gives it to him, and normally you're supposed to just give a little dose of that, but the guru takes the whole thing and puts the whole thing in his mouth and just smiles and walks away. It's such a great story. And what does Ram Dass notice about the guru on the LSD? He notices that nothing has changed in him. It doesn't affect him in any way. Probably because that guru was already so high, and already so expansive, so expanded. So then Roland Griffith, he finally, because of his great prestige, he got permission to study psilocybin, which is also known as magic mushrooms. And so he got this exclusive permission to study this and see what it can be good for, to do of course experiments to test mysticism, but also what he didn't really realize is that how much of a cure, or how much the magic mushrooms could heal, okay, people. So basically, they invited people to come to be volunteers, and they gave them doses of it. They were supposed to come for 3 occasions, and it was very controlled. There was 2 people first of all, it was in a very loving kind of environment, just like a living room setting with a couch, and there were the associates, the scientists who were there to make sure everything would be okay with the volunteer, coach them through it, help them through it. And so they were asked to come and bring some pictures of people they love and things and little artifacts that are meaningful to them. And they basically just took the mushrooms and then lied down on the couch. They had, an eye patch covering their eyes, and it's like a spa, like a psychedelic spa. And they started to see what happened. And basically, what happened is that people just started going deep into their minds, very deep. And, like, I'll give you some examples. They started having, you're supposed to have hallucinogens, right, with psychedelics, but these can't really be hallucinogens because a hallucinogen is when you think you see something and it's as physical as, let's say, whatever device you're using right now to watch this. But they had more like visions in the mind, which is what I think are definitely mystical experiences. And some people, you know, they had tremendous backstories of of anxiety. Also, many of them had issues of depression. Later on, he would study cancer patients. There was over 250 people that they did the experiment with. There were smokers. I'll tell you about those effects later, but just sort of the average kind of high functioning professional adults that came to be a part of the study, they had their baggage of anxiety and traumas. And for example, one young man, he witnessed his father dying when he was 10 years old. And there was nobody there to help him process this. His mother had shut down, really, because of the grief. Nobody could help him process this. He never did. And for the rest of his life, he learned to block emotion. He learned to build walls around emotion. And he was always very self-conscious in front of people, not knowing what to say. Should I say this? What is he going to think? Examining everything that he said in social interactions. How did it sound? Did it sound good? A lot of this sort of anxiety, not really wanting to go out and socialize too much. And someone like him, when he took the psilocybin, he saw his father again, and he had a conversation with his father, and his father told him, he said, I want you to know that everything is okay, that everything is okay, and that you are perfect. You are perfect, and I want you to enjoy life. I want you to get out there, and I want you to treasure anything that is available to you. And it just was this completely liberating, transformative realization that he got. On this third visit, he had the deepest, let's call it trip or mystical experience, where some sort of guide from the universe came to meet him and took him like into these different galaxies. And that guide said something to him like, look, there's some work that needs to be done here. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm going to go inside of you, and there's something inside of you that we need to remove from you. So this guide comes in and takes out another version of him, of Mark, and he says, now this Mark, he's been helping you. He's the one that's been protecting you from embarrassment, building up walls around you so that you don't suffer too much disappointment, or you don't have to make too many risks. But actually, though he was helping you, he's actually not good for you anymore, and we need to get rid of him. And they do. They take that other Mark and they kind of stuffs it into himself, and he disappears. And he feels, and Mark, the real person, feels liberated that his walls have come down. And what's amazing about the studies is that the people that do them, they have these amazing results, startling results. like 80% of them, 6 months the road on down the road after their during their checkups, they say that the experience was one of the most important experiences of their life, one of the greatest things that ever happened to them. So, and then there was great results with cancer patients, reducing their anxiety and depression by a huge degree. Also, 80% again, smokers after 6 months, 80% of them quit. It's really cool how they did that. They got people that wanted to quit smoking and wanted to try this experiment. And so they coached them and created the tentative date of when they would quit. And the day they would quit would be the day that they got their first dose of psilocybin. So of psilocybin. So then they do that, and 80% of them 6 months later still are fully clean, no cigarettes. And then even 2 years later, there's a high percentage of them that remain completely clean. So it's just incredible, right? What it has done, and what the scientists say that it has done is it creates an experience where what they call ego shrinks. Okay, their ego shrinks, and because their mind is expanded, and their mind becomes, it's like their sense of self, their I feeling becomes so much more heightened that they can observe better the subconscious problems in their mind. And they can observe with a lot of space and detail why they're doing the things they're doing. And our meditation practice, our tantric meditation practice, is exactly designed to do that. Our meditation practice is designed to close the eyes and take oneself into the chamber of the mind that we call the Mahat, which is the thought and the feeling I exist. That's what we're doing every Saturday here. We're going there. And then from there we start to say the mantra. But once you have practice going into the Mahat, just into a realm of mind where you feel like you just exist, you're not doing anything, you are not caught up by all of the samskaras in your mind, right? The mental impressions, stored impressions in your mind from the things that have happened to you in your life. You try to let those go. Of course, they keep coming back as you meditate, I know. And then you try to let it go and come back to the Mahat. And then what you do is you try to merge that feeling with the supreme consciousness. So you try to, and that's called samadhi. It's called savikalpa samadhi. When you try to take your unit existence, your mental unit existence, and try to merge it with the cosmic mental existence, the cosmic mind. So this drug is just sort of helping them be in that Mahat for longer. But I found, and this is now my own critique, that the scientists are a little confused. They call this the ego, but that's not the ego. In our tantric tradition, we believe the ego is now the chamber of the mind that is called the aham, which is the thought I do. And different from I exist. So the ego is just the doer. It's the aspect of yourself that wants to do things. The Mahat is just the deeper sense of I, the I feeling. And then there's another chamber of the mind, the Chitta. And these scientists, when they're doing this, again, this is my critique, they think that they are that the ego is comprised of all three of those things. That it is at once a sense of self, another, and at once all of the stored impressions in your mind. So I think in Tantra that has been simplified much better to look at the mind in three chambers. And so what I think is happening in those experiments is that the psychedelics are helping people go to the Mahat, where they can then be exposed to their Chitta, which is the feeling that I have done, and is also where all of the samskaras are stored. So for example, right now we have countless some scars in our mind that we don't even know are there, traumas, memories, moments. Um, that's what actually dictates the ego. The ego is kind of bound by those things, okay? And in these experiences, I feel like they're observing that the chitta, the samskaras are coming up, and they're releasing the samskaras. And that's exactly what we do in our tantric meditation. In fact, we used to do here a ritual. We don't do it anymore since we started the personal development session, but you can do this. Next week I'll tell you when we can resume some of those practices. But we used to do a ritual here where at the end of our meditation we would let go of anything bothering us in the mind, anything that is blocking us from a deeper relationship with the Supreme, essentially offering and releasing our samskaras, the stored impressions in our mind. So it would be nice if some of us in our community could reach out to these scientists and say, hey, we find a correlation to what you're doing. This is how we view what you're doing. What do you think about that? It would be really great to hear their opinion on how they've, because I feel like I don't know what type of meditation they're studying. But another thing that their findings showed is that basically the same things that their volunteers experience are the same things that we meditators experience. And so this study has also proven that it also has proven that human beings are designed, and I love this because the scientists said this, we are designed to have mystical experiences. They'll happen to you if you're doing a lot of great meditation, but they'll also happen to you if you take a substance like the psilocybin. The mind just cannot wait to do this. So that is wonderful that science has revealed that. We are designed to be mystical. And of course, everybody should know that you don't need the magic mushrooms to get these results. You just need to be practicing meditation regularly. And I highly recommend the meditation we practice here, the tantric meditation, that is spiritual meditation, and that takes you exactly to where that drug seems to be taking those people, to the mahat, where you then try to dissolve that little mahat or expand it until it dissolves into the infinite mahat. And then that's just one type of samadhi. But then even beyond that, try to take the soul and merge it with the infinite soul. That's called nirvikalpi samadhi. So there's more that I can say. I'll just close with this, that the doctor, Dr. Rowland, he basically said, look, if meditation is the tried and true way of getting these, of what they call shrinking the ego and having mystical experiences, well then the psilocybin is the crash course. And I want to say that and they also did this experiment with experienced meditators, and that also gave them these findings. The meditators confirm that what they experienced that day is something that they're experiencing regularly. So of course they had very nice, maybe some new insights, but they'd already been gaining a lot of insights throughout their life thanks to their meditation practice. So those of us that practice meditation, we don't need any psychedelics. We don't need to go off and try any of these things. You can, but we are discovering, and that science is confirming, that the mystical experiences that we're having are just fine on their own in their organic nature. So let's go ahead now and hear from a couple of comments, and then we'll close. Thank you for staying up with me this morning. We're already at almost going for an hour and a half. We will try to close in the next 5 minutes. Okay? Maybe 5 to 7 minutes. But let's take a look at what's in the chat, because that's more important, is to hear your thoughts on this. Okay, so I see Kayla joined. Namaskar. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary, Kayla. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Karen. She donated $25 recurring. Oh my goodness. We have a new sponsor. Thank you so much, Karen. Can everybody please send Karen some of those clapping hands, some hearts, or something even more beautiful that I can't imagine that you can do with the emojis. Thank you, Karen. We really appreciate that. You're now a new sponsor, and I'm going to be sending you a t-shirt. Here's the t-shirt that I'm going to be sending Karen. It is so cool. Check it out. It's totally cool. All right? You are going to look fabulous in it. All right. Thanks again. Kayla says that can be self-sabotaging too. Might put off what's really for you that way too. Yeah, I think you're talking about when people create a story to relieve envy that is actually negative. And Karen says, love the visual of the meditation. That was wonderful. We'll be saving this to replay. Great. If you don't find it on a replay, I want you to know that it's going to be uploaded as an edited video. Okay? Just so you know. But it will be available in the meantime. Hitendra says, the hardest thing for me was finding the people I did not care for. I've been working on forgiveness for 2 years now, and though some of my thoughts are less than nice, I find it difficult not to feel love for others, even those who have provided provided me pain. Yeah, it's kind of the same for me, Hitendra. Maybe because you've been doing so much spiritual work now, you're already naturally relieving all of this. This meditation can be really good for like to coach somebody. If you prescribe this to them, have them try it for 3 weeks if they really are having self-conscious issues, anxiety issues, fear issues, etc. But if you are an experienced yogi, it doesn't surprise me that it's hard to come up with people you don't like. You may have to think then about Trump, if that's someone you don't like, or people like that, enemies of society, who I would call enemies of society, of the welfare for the collective. Now, Karen says, that's absolutely the best description of what psilocybin does to shrink ego and the state of mind it brings you to I've ever had, and I'm a student of Terence McKenna. Okay, so maybe Karen has tried some psilocybin. If you don't mind sharing, let us know. And yeah, that shrinking of the ego. Remember, I inserted my thoughts based on our tantric philosophy, right? Like what they're calling the ego is what we call the mahat, and sometimes they're labeling that as what we call the chitta or the aham. So, anyways, that was just my clarifications. And let's see if we have any more comments here. Alicia joined and she says, Namaskar from Asheville. It's so great to have you here, Alicia. She is one of our sponsors. Thank you so much for having sustained us all this way up until now. We have to get you a new t-shirt, okay? And Peggy, thank you to all the teachers that have helped me obtain a regular meditation practice. Thank you, Peggy. I'm so glad you find it rewarding. Okay, now I'm going to announce it. Peggy is one of our first Vistara Circle sadhakas. Means she's been in the program for 2 years, and she's up for an advancement interview. Next week, I'll talk a little bit more about our program. The advancement interview marks the end of the 2 years and shows the next steps. So, Peggy, I love you so much. I really appreciate that you've been with us for 2 years going through our program. And yes, the teachers are great. Dada Vishwarupananda, who teaches on Wednesdays, he was my meditation teacher. I met him in the year 2000 when he first taught me meditation. So I know how wonderful they are. Dada Nabanilananda as well is wonderful. He wrote the book, Close Your Eyes and Open Your Mind. And Radha, who is the director of the Oakland chapter, and she's now working with Apurva on Sunday. He's the director of the Long Island chapter. They're doing now those Sunday evening meditations. They are all wonderful, wonderful people. So thank you. And Christina says, Namaskar, everyone. There's our dear sister Christina. She's also on our team, does some work for Vistara Circle. I'm glad you found it powerful, Alicia, that meditation. Izaka's greeting Christina. Christina says, that releasing ritual is one of my favorite parts of meditation. Mine too. Mine too.